to our 6:20 item, because Tony Roselli isn't due until 7 o'clock. Head of Westport Neighborhood Association, discussion of the concerns of the reopening of the Westport Stone and Sand Corporation, 536 Old County Road. Do you guys have anybody who wants to speak up here, a couple up here, or presentation, discussion? I think we're pretty much limited on how much we can say, because Ralph is really pushing the issue right now, but yeah, if you were not, whatever's more comfortable. If you want to sit, you want to sit here or whatever's more comfortable. Fine.
Thank you very much. Joseph Englesby, 469, 471 Old County Road, Westport.
You know how to get
There's
this
a
mic.
microphone, we can't hear it.
Okay.
Right next to the mic.
Hang on. Yeah, got to talk it a little bit. Diane, you have his spelling?
I did, yeah.
You got the spelling of his name? You know what? Okay. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Well, on June 19th, trucks began rolling on Old County Road, heading towards the Carty Stone and Sand Corporation. And that raised a number of questions and concerns on the part of the neighbors who have dealt with this historically over time. And I think that this might be an opportunity for the town of Westport to really consider the future of this site and the concerns that were addressed by the neighbors included the reopening of the quarry without sufficient review or notification of the abutters, the status of the quarry, whether or not it was indeed abandoned. Neighbors had said and were that it hadn't been used for 5 years or more, and then reopening without any notification, no hearing, nothing. And it sort of opened old wounds. And also, there were questions about the permit that had been reissued from the Conservation Commission, which I believe is currently under review by the town's attorney. And so it would be nice to get some sort of resolve on this. Also, the town really should review the grandfathering of non-conforming uses. Chapter 48, Section 6, the Mass General Laws, environmental impact of reopening the quarry, drinking water quality, because it's my understanding that certain of the abutters were requested to have their well water tested for petroleum, and I think that this needs to be resolved. Finally, to sort of put it to bed that the water table or the aquifer system hasn't been contaminated. Then there were traffic and safety issues that were brought up. The DEP monitoring, which is a question mark. They did request that it be reviewed, that it be re-reviewed, I think, because there were questions about the final outcome of the petroleum in the water, drinking water, also air pollution and dust control, and enforcement of the conditions. From our understanding and observations, there hadn't been any of the water spraying in order to keep the dust down, and also that there was not a sort of a review of the work as it was being done, and also questions about what was being brought in. So, you know, this it shouldn't be confrontational at all. This should be something would be really interesting way of taking a hard look at the head of Westport in terms of its future. What is the future? Do you want this to be an urban arterial roadway? Do you want this to be a historic neighborhood? How can you blend the two together to make this into a workable solution for both the Carty family, who I think had wanted to sell this to the town some years ago, or develop it for large lots of single-family homes, or through the town, perhaps purchasing it as parkland, because there are 2 ponds on site. In the 5 years that there's been an absence of use, there's been sort of reestablishment of biodiversity. From what I understand, there are turtles, there are box turtles, there are wetland turtles, there are amphibians, there are wet ducks, there are wading birds. There's just a range of species that have returned to sort of recolonize the site. It would be terrific because it's adjacent or part of the aquifer system if the town could actually be part of a deal with the Carty family to either purchase it or work with the Carty family to try and have it developed in a very conservation orientation to protect the watershed and the aquifer system. So those are some of the concerns. It also raised the question about how traffic is handled by the town on Old County Road. As you are aware, SERPED, the Regional Planning Organization, has been taking a hard look at this with the Planning Board, and some resolve has come of it. But in conversation with the neighbors, as we went around for the 48 signatures from various families, they looked at mapping, they looked at the aerial plans, and they pointed out where there were traffic accidents, where there were concerns. And one concern that was sort of overwhelming was that it should have a consistent speed. Right now it's 35 to 25 to 35. Make it 25 all the way from the top of the river valley on either side, from Old County to the middle school. That would help. Another issue is the traffic speeding down the hill above the post office. And there have been so many near misses of people, both of pedestrians as well as cars entering and exiting there, because it's a blind curve, you just don't see it. So if there's some way that we could put some protective measures in above the post office that could be like the right here in the heart of Westport, where you've got a speed monitor with the actual speed that you should be going. So that's something that you might consider on that end, as well as on the middle school end, because I know cars speed down the road, and trucks did too. So those are some of the questions, and we did pass along some plans, I think, that Mr. King has received through Mr. Hartnett on the planning board, and that sort of looks at ways it might be able to resolve some of these from a neighbor's standpoint, what's their concerns. So that is, I think, some of the concerns, and you have it in writing with the signatures as well, so I don't want to repeat or take your time. Thank you.
And we appreciate you stating it for the record before speaking. This way we have some background behind us when we go to address this. Anybody else have anything to comment from the head?
Yes, my name's, I start sometimes, Michael Habib, and I live on Old County Road. You know, I understood that the reason why, you know, our ability to be on the agenda was changed from last week or the week before was you made a request to council regarding the permit process, and did you receive anything that you can relate to us?
July 26th, Ralph did a cease and desist order. Do you folks have a copy of that?
No.
Yeah, Ralph sent out, I'll read it to you. Dear Mr. Carty, after review of your letter dated June 21st, 2017, and a recent site visit, I find that the pre-existing non-conforming use of this property for the processing of sand and gravel has been abandoned. Only recently has activity consistent with the prior use of this property began. During my recent visit to the site, I observed the weigh station in the office building boarded up, as well as areas overgrown with vegetation. Pursuant to the Westport zoning bylaws, Article 4.1.3, pre-existing non-conforming structures or uses may be altered, provided there is a finding by the Board of Appeals that such alterations shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use to the neighborhood. Therefore, you are hereby ordered to cease and desist from any further use of the property as sand and gravel operations until such time you have the approval of the Board of Appeals. And that was sent by, it was dated July 27th, that's when, July 26th, that's when we got it.
Okay, is it being monitored that he's complying with it?
We sent it to, I believe so, yes. Was there action this weekend that just passed?
No, there was not.
Yeah, so it's out there, you know, I'm sure they're gonna try to fight it, but that's what he was consulting legal for, to see how we could address it.
Okay, and how would the neighbors receive information if an appeal was filed?
We'll announce it here for you, but we can forward email too.
The zoning board of appeals would have a hearing, that's
Yeah.
where the appeal would go.
Right, that's where it would go, we say how we know.
And they'll notify all the abutters before they appear. You're required by law, as the petitioner to the zoning board of appeals, to notify all the abutters within a 400-foot radius. So all the abutters who are within a 400-foot radius of that property will be notified by law, by registered mail. You should get a notification. If not, we could ask the board of appeals that they keep a contact from the neighborhood association on their
That would be helpful.
contact list. So that
Yeah,
they
we
can-
have your list, so we'll forward it to us.
Okay, you know, is there a way we can get a copy of the cease and desist order?
I'll give you mine.
Well, thank you very much.
There's one, make as many copies as you want. We can make copies when we get a chance, Michael.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a nice night.
All right. Again, thank you, because the more stuff we have for the record helps us in the quote battle to address this.
We have another one there, I swear I had a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, somebody else had their hand up too, I believe. Was there anybody else who wanted to talk?
I was just going to add to what Joseph had said.
Yep. Could you go to the mic, because people at home, and you gotta state your name for the record, please.
My name's Stephanie Griswold, and I live at 472 Old Harvey Road. And I was just going to add to what Joseph was saying about the traffic. I mean, these trucks every morning tearing down the hill, shaking the foundations of my old house. It's incredible how fast they go. And then when they dump the soil and whatever, and then coming back again, it's just a problem.
Yeah.
That's all.
I could actually hear the Jake brakes at my house sometimes. That's
that
the
too.
back noise they got. So, yeah, they do that going down the hill to use the engine to slow them down, so, yeah. Oh, yeah, we could hear it. So we're trying to do what we can. Carney does have good lawyers, as we found out in the past, but we're gonna do what we can do. And again, we appreciate you having it on the record. Did you
Thank you
listen?
very much.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Let her speak first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I do want to say though that I do see policemen at the head occasionally. I know that we're sparsely, you know, available to have cops there all the time, but I saw them there today and I saw them stopping people, and I say I appreciate that. You know, I mean, there's, pardon me? I'm
Need your
sorry.
name for the record,
Oh,
please.
I'm sorry, Evelyn Wilbur,
Thank you.
married to that guy back there.
Yeah, throw him in.
Michael Habib, and we just have different names.
Great, okay, thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you just say?
Well, I just wanted to relay personal, experience. For, back in 2000, I think it was 6, when I actually did a renovation of a house at 88 Drift Road for a former member of the Watershed Alliance, actually. Named Colin Browning. So I was there every day for about 6 or 7 months doing this. We completely gutted out a house and rebuilt it. And during that time, I have to say, I was amazed that daily they had a stone crushing operation going on, and daily you were just hearing these obnoxiously loud explosions going off as they're crushing stone and dropping stone, and trucks coming up and down the hills, Jake waking, as they said, as Stephen said. It is really, really. I mean, they're not just making this stuff up. I was there for 6 to 7 months every day, and you were outside every day. And throughout the summer, it was just nonstop. It was nonstop, and that stone crusher was just, it hurt my ears, and I was a half mile away, and it was hurting my ears. You know, I mean, that's the reality of what they've had to live with for years. And when this place shut down, it was probably a godsend to all of you,
It really
and
was.
hoping that it wasn't gonna open up again. And I mean, I can understand why they're here today, and that's all I wanted to ask.
Like,
Two questions, and maybe Tim can help me out. I know we had some recent correspondence. You had made some suggestions about how we might quiet the traffic through that area back in the spring, I think, Tim, you and I think John was there. And I noticed, and the only thing that I think that I just recently saw was we're going to go with the speed limit signs painted on the road. But we talked about actually skinning the road up by maximizing the parking on each side, or the striped off portion of the road, possibly having a standalone speed limit sign right in the middle of the crosswalk or something. There's a couple of things. Where do we land on those things? First of all, my second question is, nobody talked about the jake braking before, and I've seen areas where this is prohibited. Is that something that we can do? And how do we go about doing it?
get the recommendations from Serped, which is still completing their studies, but we're gonna have him in here in a meeting or two, so. But yeah, we'll get past that, for sure.
So the first part of the question
The
is,
first part of your question is that the highway department has purchased the stencils, they're gonna be painting the lower traffic speed right in the road, both directions, approximately a quarter of a mile from Gifford Road and a quarter of a mile up from the post office.
what
What
about,
about the signs?
The issue of doing some of the traffic calming options, we'll have to wait till we first get the traffic count from Serped,
It was delayed because of the rain.
and then have an engineer review them and design them. To a certain extent, part of the traffic calming effort will be enhanced by what's going to be happening with the grant at the watershed that will introduce some of those traffic calming alternatives.
so there will be a time in the future when the traffic study is complete and a set of recommendations will be reviewed by us? or-
Us and we'll have another neighborhood meeting as well.
Okay, excellent. Is that, do you think, fall time frame?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Did you want to speak?
Just briefly, I'm sorry I was at the Landing Commission, so I wasn't unable to hear what all folks have said. And a couple of things that we are putting, as a town, a lot of resources into the head. Between the watershed and between our grant that we've gotten from the state, the Seaport grant and the CPC have put a lot of money and resources into developing the head. There are a lot of people in this audience who purchased homes after the sand pit was closed, not knowing that there were going to be trucks. And a lot of us already have had houses, but as you said, Mr. Valcourt, this was something that happened back in 2005, 2006, where we were just rumbled daily in there. Our houses, as noted, were shaking. But my concern is that we are developing the head is growing, and we have trucks that are coming through there that are really causing a lot of havoc, and there's going to be an accident. I know I say that every time I come and speak before people. I realize that we have to break this out, traffic versus, the planning. I do have history, and there is on the Concom of that they actually agreed and purchased no jake brake signs, Cardi did. And they're over in the highway department, sitting there, Chris Gonzalez said, and they were not put up because of some town regulation around no jake braking, which I don't know if Serped can override that or not, but we have them, they purchased them, they were over $700 10 years ago. And so I just think we're here to voice really a climate of escalation of traffic, unsafe conditions, and that has changed a couple of times in the time that I've lived at the head. where there was a horror show and then they backed out and backed off and we were quiet for over 5 years. And I think it's closer to 9 or 10 at this point. And so I really think that the town has to be very, very on top of this. And I know this is a beast. Cardi is a big corporation and has a lot of resources. But you aren't elected by Cardi, you're elected by us. And I really feel like that voice you need to hear our voices in this. And there's a lot of folks here that put a lot of time into this. Thank you.
Brett, I'll be brief, it's Michael DeBeeve again. If my memory is correct on the permit, Bacardi, and the previous owner, which I don't remember the name.
Douglas.
Yeah.
Right, Douglas. Jake breaking was prohibited as part of the permit.
Yeah, it was.
So you may want to confirm that. And in the 80s, I represented pro bono the neighborhood, and there was various matters, and there were a few lawsuits and everything. Kyle Lees was the town attorney at that time. You may want to review that, the old file. You may want to make it, available to town council because there's a lot of material in there. And one of the matters that was litigated was the noise of the stone crusher, and there were all, many rules dealing with the sound of the stone crusher and the spread of the dust and stuff, going onto other people's property, because some of it was dangerous because it was, I can't say the word, SILCON.
Silicon.
Yeah, right, and that was an issue. So you may want to review it and everything.
We will.
And the business hours that they were
No,
going
they
at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right, we also got the hours restricted.
Yeah, I was
At
on
one point, there were
Concom when we did that.
there were no hours,
Yeah. All right.
until we got involved.
Sounds good. We'll find out. I wasn't aware that Jake brake signs were at the highway department, so Tim will research that and find out why that was stopped and what we're gonna do. Like Brian mentioned a meeting or two ago, now the laws are changing, so the town could change some speed limits and do different things that we couldn't do before. So we'll look into it. Did you wanna say something, man?
Yes. My name is Nancy Mullen. I live at 36 Reed Road. One concern I had that you should look into is with all those heavy trucks coming in, or if they're allowed to come in, there are 4 ways to get into that area. And there's a little tiny bridge at Lake Okeechobee. There's a little tiny bridge at Forge Pond. And there's a little tiny bridge that says 1960 something right at the head. And I just wonder, can those bridges accommodate that kind of heavy truck traffic?
All right, we'll have our bridge expert look into that with us. So,
Oh,
that's our bridge expert.
I retired in 1997 as a civil engineer. I don't know if I need to come back, but yes, there could be, that could be a very, very strong factor in your consideration. The other thing, hearing these folks speak, and I haven't been down that area recently, but entering the head area, wherever it is from those points or those roads, could there be a sign entering the head, traffic, speed restricted and a rumble strip, or a rumble strip across the road as a warning with a traffic sign stating fines will be instituted? It just seems that when listening to these folks and some recognition on my own part, this has been going on so long, it needs a quicker solution than we've been given it, or the town's been given it, even though they've been limited in their jurisdiction what they can do. But these are town roads, and this is a neighborhood that doesn't have a business zone, to the best of my knowledge.
That's correct. It's
But
not zoned for business.
It is.
It is not.
It's not.
No, it is not. That's what I thought.
Everything's grandfathered.
So,
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
that's what I thought, so that, that there could be some restrictions passed in that direction.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, as you know, you're very familiar with Serpent. That's our 2 main projects right now, is the head calming and 177 safety. That's what we're concentrating our hours on right now.
Okay.
And the new guy, you should probably come to our, what meeting, Diane, the next one, or the one after? In 2 meetings, we're gonna have the head of Serpent here, Jeff Walker.
Oh,
So,
okay.
if you wanna come and say hi. But I want him to brief us on those 2 job, so.
Excuse me, what's the date of that?
The meeting after next, it's a Monday night. He's gonna be one of the first things, 6 o'clock, August,
21st?
September.
No,
I thought it was the end of August.
August 21st is the next meeting.
Was it the 21st he's coming in?
September 21st.
No, I'm pretty sure he's coming the 21st.
September 5th.
No, it's not September, it's August, it's August.
The point I was making is that it doesn't seem, up till this point, anything has worked to slow that traffic and that noise problem down, whereas a rumble strip, signs, and a speed bump might help out a little bit.
Sounds good. Yeah, he'll be at our Monday, August 21st meeting at 6 PM. It was more or less a meet and greet, but I wanted him just to touch base on the projects. We can't beat him up for an hour or so, but I wanted him to come in just to see the community. As Wayne knows, the other person that ran it, Steve Smith, was very familiar with the area, and he was very aggressive. So we'd like this guy to come down and see the town.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Did you have something else?
Yeah. Joseph Inglesby, 469 to 471 Old County Road. Could I pass along these plans? I've been a stenographer for the past few weeks, and what we've done is we've put all the suggestions on these aerial plans.
Okay.
So may I pass them along?
Yeah, and if you have anything in the email format, you can forward it to Serpent too, or myself or Jim Whiten, we can forward it to. So anything you have, forward to us and we'll forward to them.
Thank you. May I
Sure.
give you
Yeah, if you want to leave it with Diana, that'd be
Thank
great. Thank you. All right, anything else on this subject? Can we move on? All right, thank you very much. Anthony's still not here yet, right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.